Hi, and welcome to my beginner's guide for Tainted Grail. I'm Icon, and this video will guide you through the basics of this new deck building roguelite, which plays in a wonderful dark fantasy world. I will talk about the basics of the game first, and then I'm going to guide you through the exploration parts and lose a few words about all the game's aspects, and then we're going to summarize the most useful tips and tricks I have in store for you. So we start out here with a completely fresh save file. So the entire village, which is your base of operations, is still, as you see here, there's nobody at home. All these buildings will have NPCs later down the road, which can do wonderful things for you. But when you start out with the game, you're basically all on your own. The only person here is the Lost Soul, where you can grab yourself new healing potions or rest once per run. You can upgrade all these things, and I'm going to talk about these in a couple of minutes, but let's just get out there and talk about the actual exploration and fighting gameplay first, before we talk about this management and economy part. So when you go outside here, you can always see there's only one exit open. Each one of these exits is one of the chapters you have to conquer, and as soon as you step outside, the door back outside will be closed. So I'm going to skip through these here because that's just story that I don't want to take away from you. And as you see here, we're not really seeing much. So just like similar games, we have to burn weird candles, and these will yield light for us. The more burn rating you have, the better, because you will always have positive effects when you have these. And when you look around here now, with the tab button, you can open up the map. You see here monsters and different encounters. So since we are just starting out, the game is leading me to this guy here, but you can basically right click everywhere you want on the map to give yourself some own markers. But let's just follow the quest and speed down the first enemy. You just need to walk into the enemies and then you get going. So things to know about combat. Up here you see what your enemy is up to. As we see here, he's preparing for a special attack, so there's nothing noticeable here. The texts when you mouse over the enemies here are very informative. And down here you see the enemy's armor and other important effects which are worth checking out. So just like with every turn-based combat game, you have actions, you have action points, and as a specialty for this game, every character class has an ultimate skill. So as a weird hunter that I am, I can charge up my ultimate by inflicting damage, and once I have enough charges, I can toss out a big attack for that. So when you right click this, you get a better explanation of how these things work. That's true for every class. And well, as we see here, this guy is immune to stun. He doesn't really want to attack us, so we just select our cards. I now know that how this class already works, so we're going for a broad reach, which increases the damage of our next ability, and just attack that guy and go to the next turn. Energy doesn't conserve between turns, so always try to spend all your energy if possible, because there's really no real benefit in keeping those. We gained a weird card. Weird cards spawn in relation to your weird candle brightness. When the weird candle is really bright, these cards are positive. The lower your candle is, they can also turn into either neutral or even negative cards. So here we gain a card which gives me either 200% more damage this turn, or if I not play it, I gain 50 armor next turn. But since we can finish off our enemy just like that, let's just increase our attack and go crazy on this dude. And after we win, we get money and we get weird stones sometimes. Weird stones are a currency which lets you upgrade, for example, the Lost Souls services. That's one thing where you can get permanent upgrades, but more of that later. Now we get to select a new card. Every class has unique cards, and therefore we're going to pick, well, let's go for the Shield Breaker because I like armor reducing effects, and every level up also yields you a passive skill. Or does everyone? Yes, I think it's every few levels or every level. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I'm entirely sure that you get a card on every level. About the passives, I would need to recheck actually. Feel free to comment me if you feel free to comment that video if you know more about that. So here you get perks that are working out passively. Right now we're just going to pick whatever. Feel free to adapt these to your own playstyle. It's not really easy to say this is the best, you should... that's not entirely true. That's not how this game works. There are always skills which are better or worse in your according situation. So now we're supposed to go over here. So let's fight the next fight. And every exploration fight here is worth doing, because you are always going to learn something about the world or gain resources which will last over the run itself too. So we're going to burn the candle here, and I'm going to talk about multiple target fights a little bit. So as you see here, we're receiving more attacks than just one, and this is where the game really gets tricky. You always will have to balance between tanking and taking damage, and for example here we can just stun that guy. I don't want to attack him because he gets stronger with every hit he suffers, and now we can't just go for something like that. Find your own pacing and way of dealing with fights, and as we see here, these guys have a healer. Maybe we want to focus down him first, and also use skills for defenses according to your class. For example, the Weird Hunter here has the block mechanic, which just flat out blocks and attack entirely. So now we can't go crazy because we will block that attack entirely. And since I don't like healers, let's just shield breaker that guy, overhead swing to reduce the armor even more, and let's go for that. It's really important in every fight that you consider which is the most important target to take down, and then focus your strength accordingly. So also worth noticing, the enemies are getting their actions from left to right. So this guy will attack first and then this one. It's important if you have blocks, because I will now decide to just tank that attack because I want to get done with this fight at some point. So we're going to reduce the armor even further and keep attacking here. So the combat system of this game is all about conserving your resources and trying not to take too much damage between fights, because your HP stays like that after fights. You don't get replenished to 100% after each fight. You will keep the damage you suffer in every fight, so work accordingly to that. So about the combat itself, there's only one more thing that I want to say. Stun effects in this game are really powerful, and always very appealing to take. And very powerful as well are all armor reducing effects, because at the end of the day, this game features quite often enemies which stack up armor a lot, and also it features enemies that deal tremendous amounts of damage with one blow a lot. So it's quite useful to have stuns and or abilities to soften up your enemies. Okay, we're just going to finish that fight, and then we're going to talk about progression a little bit more. So as we see here, the situation is getting easier and easier. Let's use our ultimate skill for once. There we go. So with all these cards here, keep in mind that you don't want to pick up every card that comes your way. If there's no card that fits to your strategy right now, rather skip. And you can always check out your own deck here. There are NPCs which are actually giving you the opportunity to remove cards from your deck, so that's always an option to strive for. And of course, if your deck is empty, it just gets shuffled and you redraw the pile again. Okay, so we're now going to, let's see here, stun all enemies with negative armor. Let's do that. This is one of the skills I'm talking about. And in the world out here, you will always find lots of encounters like this crazy, spooky florist who's having limbs and organs instead of flowers. And these things are story elements. I'm just clicking through that because I don't want to tell the story here. These are story elements which are really, really important for the game because they always bring you also progression elements. Here we get to pick a new card for our deck, but also the florist gives me the option to ask him why he's so sad, and now we get a quest from him because he has a bouquet a lady has to get, and now we get into it. We press the I button and now you see there's our inventory and also quests. I want to talk about the quest system now because we are pretty much done with exploring and combat. You saw the basics of it, the rest is up to you to learn. The quest system here is quite interesting because this quest will now be active for all your coming runs, and whenever you enter the world anew, you can try to solve this quest. The game has lots and lots of these quests, and basically it's always worth trying to stroll around the world and try to get as many encounters as possible. Basically every combat here has an encounter, and you see this gemstone here yields a treasure guardian fight. I want to talk about that in a second, but first I want to talk about the encounters. These encounters are always worth picking up. They either unlock stuff for your village, or they give you the opportunity to get into new quests or other exciting things. But one word of warning: sometimes you can mess up yourself really, really hard when you go into daunting. So for example, there are events where you can just try to attack important quest NPCs. This game gives you dump decision options, and you get punished for them quite hard if you're not as strong as you think you are. But that's something I really do like about that. I just wanted to give you guys a fair warning about instant smackdown possibilities Tainted Grail has in store for us. The treasure guardian fights, every chapter area has one treasure guardian. This is one especially difficult fight in every area. Often they are even stronger than the actual boss of the area, and they always yield a treasure pile behind them, which is one of the most valuable rewards per chapter. You can either gain important permanent stat bonuses or the ability to equip more runestones on your gear. About runestones and such things we're going to talk in a minute, because now we're going to go over to a village and check out the managerial aspects of the game. Welcome back to a slightly more developed village. So I swapped now to my main save file, and I wanted to show you a more sophisticated village. So once you have unlocked the people, here's the scientist, you can get to their place and buy different things. So the scientist features consumables in combat, but you can also upgrade these consumables. Every single of these NPCs features a different service. As you see, I haven't unlocked all of them here, but I want to showcase the seamstress here, because the seamstress is a very important one. She gives you baseline upgrades. If you ever get stuck in the game, just play long enough to unlock the seamstress, and there you can unlock basic stat increases like more HP per run, more armor per run, and this is really, really powerful. The seamstress uses blood as a resource, and as we see here, there are several special resources. Blood is earned by just killing enemies, so you can basically grind up your stats. If the game is ever too hard for you, just grind it up at the seamstress. Every NPC has a own currency. As we see here, for example, the candle maker has his upgrades paid in tallow. Tallow is gained by just burning weird candles, and all these different resources are gained differently. So the Master at Arms gives you new skills for card shreds. They are gained by skipping card rewards at level ups, and at this guy you can buy new cards at the beginning of the game. And as you can already see here, the game grows more and more easy the more often you play it, just like roguelites in general have the tendency to. I want to talk about Runestones now, last but not least, because they are really an exciting and important part of the game. Runestones can be are items which can be, well, let's buy a couple of them to show you what I'm talking about. Runestones can be equipped here in your screen. They can either go into your weapon slot or your armor slot, and every runestone has a different effect depending on where it's slotted in. Just like I told you, Treasure Guardians, among other effects, can give you new slots for these, and that's why I personally think the Treasure Guardians are that tremendously important. If you can beat them, it's really, really cool to do so. So when you equip these runes, they give you those bonuses, and once you have 3 runes of a type, you can upgrade them. Every time you upgrade those runes, you gain a currency for the blacksmith, runestone dusts, where you can upgrade that guy. This is true for basically all the NPCs I've met so far in the game, making it always worthwhile. No matter if your run is a success or not, you will always gain something you can keep for your next runs. So that pretty much summarizes this beginner's guide. And one last thing, once you're done with the game, once you've beaten it, you unlock new difficulty levels, and these difficulty levels also unlock new story challenges and story arcs, so there's a lot to discover in this game. Basically, I would say it's a way more story-driven variant of games like Slay the Spire and such, and I really can't recommend it enough because it's gritty, it's atmospheric, it has a very challenging gameplay, and the only downside is to say if you grinded it enough, it will grow easier and the challenge will subside to a certain degree, but until then you will have had a lot of fun with this game. One last tip from my side, specialize into a character class which is fun for you, because the more often you play a character class, the more stuff you unlock for it, and if there's any character you don't like, don't sweat it, just don't play it too much, go over to character classes you like. Alrighty, I hope that was helpful for you. Feel free to drop me a comment down below, and feel free to ask questions or add new knowledge into this tutorial. I'd be more than happy if you find something to add into this video. Also, leave a thumbs up on that video if you liked it, and check out my channel. I do daily content, and maybe you'll find something there you like as well. If so, subscribe and turn on those notifications to not miss any content in the future. Also, in my description below, you will find my Twitch channel where I happen to do daily streams. So if you want to get in touch, I'd be happy. And also, there are ways and means to support my free content project financially. I'd be more than happy if you would lend me a helping hand or give me a little tip. But the most important thing, of course, is that I am very grateful for you watching these videos. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.